Today we are going to be doing a fall trends class. If you guys have questions at any point, please feel free to stop me and ask. Otherwise, like Amanda said earlier, you can type that in the chat and she can ask for you. So like I said, we're going to be talking about what's trending for fall and kind of how to achieve those colors using ASP. So the executive director of Pantone was quoted as saying, colors for autumn and winter this season are going to contrast our competing desires for calm and comfort, energy boosting vitality through a range of restful, restorative colors in tandem with exuberant tones. So that's a lot of really fun words. And really what that means for me is that we are going to be seeing a lot of neutral colors. We're going to see that typical fall palette, but then we're also going to have some of those bolder colors mixed in. So you can see on the screen now, again, we have that very classic fall palette, but we're also seeing a lot of bright oranges and a lot of brighter yellows. The one that kind of caught me by surprise is that we're seeing a lot of pastel pink, or a little more of a muted pink, which is so not typical for fall, but I love that. I am one of those people that likes to kind of do the opposite of what's trendy. So that I love that I can still be trendy and wear a color that you wouldn't typically see for fall. But I also am really enjoying the fact that we're pairing those bold colors with more of those neutral tones. So this is what our palette is really going to be this season. These colors have been dubbed energizing and uplifting. A lot of them are appearing a little bit brighter and less restrained than last fall. But again, we're still seeing those illuminating yellows and bright reds. There's a little more of those beigey tones. We're seeing some gray stuff come through. Is there any color in particular that you guys are seeing a lot of? Either people requesting it or people wearing it. What are you guys seeing right now?
I think for me, people are kind of wanting to really richen it, really warm it up. They're loving their blondes, but they're wanting a little bit more of those honey type colors, which is really, really fun. In the chat, we had browns and coppers comment on there.
Perfect. Yes, that's 100% exactly what I'm seeing.
Yeah, warm gold blonde, ashy gold tones, and wearing more green and warming up their blondes a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I love that a lot of these colors that we're seeing this season are almost just an easy tweak on the formula you might already be using. So it's like you're ahead of the trend. So we're going to start getting into some models and some formulas. So first up is Caramel Cafe. So on our model, her regrowth is 601 and 6.7. And then through her ends, we have 8.0 and 8.24. So like I was saying, this is a formula that can easily be used in the salon. This is something that you can totally put on almost any one of your clients. If you have somebody who's a little bit on the darker side, this would be a really lovely way to add dimension in the way of highlights or even a low light on your blondes. So a lot of these don't have to be a solid color. You can just kind of incorporate them in the way of dimension. And I know for me, looking at this, I can think of at least 3 clients off the top of my head that I could easily put this on, right?
Yeah, I love adding that 6.7 into the root area because I feel like it just cools down. Everyone that's at that level kind of is okay with a little bit of warmth, but they always say, I don't want gold, I don't want red, I don't want this, I don't want that. And I feel like that 7 in there at that level 6 is just the perfect way to kind of tone it down a little bit, gives it a really nice cooling effect. I use it a lot for root colors, but root shadowing as well. So yeah, it's that perfect way to transition, you know, a highlight into kind of that wintry look.
Yep, definitely. Next up is Lava Falls. So on her regrowth, we have 7.646 with a little bit of 6.117 and a little bit of the Be Red red. And like Amanda was saying with the 0.7s, I really like adding in the Gothics at the root because it really kind of shadows it out. So typically when I think of fall colors, as I'm sure most of you, I tend to think a little more, I don't want to say drab, but like a little on the darker side, not quite so bright. So I love adding in that Gothic. So with the 6117 in there, we're really kind of shadowing out her root and giving it more of that typical fall feel. But then through her ends and her mids, we still have the 7.646 with the Be Red red. So her ends are still going to be a little more on the brighter side and still have a little more of that pop. So I love that we're incorporating both of that within the same tone, just having a little more of that shadowed look at her root. So iced coffee is another one that you can easily incorporate into everyday hair. She is pre-lightened with System Blonde 9 and 20 volume. And then she was basically just toned with 8.32 and 0.7. So the 3.2s are such a beautiful, perfectly well-balanced color on its own. But by adding in that 0.7, we're refining that warmth that you're going to get when you're highlighting her. So it's almost like a built-in pre-toner just to make sure that that 3.2 is really going to shine. This formula is such a great way to kind of like automize your blondes. Again, you could even do this as, like I like to call it a shadow ring. So if you take your mohawk section and part that off, and then I just kind of panel it around the round of the head, it gives your blondes the ability to still stay bright and feel like they're blonde, but incorporating that little bit of tone into the underneath where it's going to kind of peek out. This is one of my favorite ways to kind of winterize blondes. It's the favorite technique for me on my own hair because I am a true blonde. Like typically I go lighter in the fall, but I love being able to kind of incorporate a little bit of that where you're not going to see it so much, but you can see it if I want you to, type of thing. Does anybody have any favorite ways to incorporate like a low light on a blonde or some way to make your blonde still feel blonde but kind of darken them for fall, if anybody wants to share?
I like using hot shots. I think hot shots are a really unique way of doing that because it's a really great color conditioner. You know, you could use something like the iced chestnut or hot chocolate. You can even soften it and pastelize it out with a conditioner, with your Mode conditioner, or with pastelizer. And for me, that's just a really perfect way because a lot of times my blondes don't want to be all over blonde or all over dark. And so it's a really great way to kind of soften, breaking it up. And then in a couple weeks, it just softly fades out. They got their touch of a low light and then it's all done.
I love that. And then it's not in the way next time when they don't want it anymore.
Exactly.
Pastelizes out of the hair. Love that idea.
Would you guys foil that in like the hot shots, or would you just put it on all over?
You could do either or. You could
either.
You could either foil it, you could hand paint it in just kind of where you wanted it to. It doesn't have to be covered when it's processing. So if you just kind of wanted to kind of pick and play where you wanted it, you could. You could also do it all over for an all over gloss too.
Okay. And you can use the pastelizer in the hot shots or conditioner to kind of tone out, like make those colors lighter. Oh.
Yeah. Yep. If you're using something like hot chocolate or iced chestnut that are really, really dark brunette, I would add in pastelizer or your conditioner first, and then add in your hot shots just so you get more control out of it. Otherwise, you're going to be using way too much conditioner and kind of backtracking. Okay. If that makes sense.
Thanks.
Yeah, but the hair is so silky, so soft. It's like an instant deep conditioner when you're using the hot shot. So it's so awesome on the hair. It's a great way, especially with winter. We get dry, we get, unless you're in California, it's like going to be 100 degrees today. It's dry, it's hot, it's, you know, we're lacking the moisture. So it adds in that moisture. So if you have someone that's really staticky, it's a great option to add on their hair.
Exactly.
One
Yeah,
other
even
question
just
I wanted,
pastelizer on its own.
what was that, Kristen?
I was saying pastelizer on its own is great for static.
That too. That too. I just want to touch on one thing with the 0.7. So someone asked if, Oshana asked if the 6.7 would be good for a root smudge straight away. It depends what you're doing a root smudge on. If you have someone that's a full foil, I'm not going to go in with a 6.7 and do a root smudge straight away. That 0.7 is really intense in that and is really meant to neutralize out. So if you're using it on someone that has a full foil, I would go in and mix it with something of like a 0.0, 0.00, 0.01, something like that, just to give a little bit of tonal control and kind of slow down that 0.7 a little bit. If you're using it on someone like this client here, this is actually one of my clients. Could I go in with a straight 6.7? Yeah, I could, but I'd still, for just control, I would still go in with a 601, 6.0, anything like that. So I typically am not using any of the 0.7 straight away, just because if you guys have used any of the 0.2 series, like a 10.2, 8.2, they're very vibrant, they're very intense. Those 0.7s act in that same way. So it's nice just to give it a little bit of a buffer, a little bit more of a background to lay that 0.7 on. Does that make sense, Shauna?
Yes, it does. Thanks.
Perfect. Okay, you got it.
Awesome. All right. So this is chicory coffee. And this is just a really nice, like roasted, earthy brown. Again, this would be a great formula tweak on somebody who is already a brown babe. So her base is 401. And then on her ends, we have 6.35. So we're really bringing in that, you know, kind of golden mahogany warmth. I love that this was done using converter, just because I feel like converter, well, one, we're depositing only, so we don't need to use anything other than converter. But I love it. It's just so shiny. And I like that with converter, it's gonna not be in my way next time when she comes in. So let's say she wants to rock this earthy brown through fall and winter. And then when she comes back in spring, she wants to go a little bit lighter. It's gonna easily come right out of her hair with a little bit of lightener.
Yeah, this was also my client. This is my client, Melanie, and she's someone that just really doesn't want to be blonde. She's brunette. She has dark features. She's just someone that wants a really beautiful, rich chocolate brown color, but again, doesn't want that blonde, doesn't want that caramel, which is great. I love that. And so yeah, on her, so I use that 635. That 3 is going to add a little bit of gold to it. That 5 is going to add a little bit of that richness of that red warmth with not being overbearingly red. And so I just feel like it's a really nice contrast. On her, we have previously highlighted her. So this is the gloss over from that 635, kind of transitioning over into winter. And again, it's just really rich. It's really vibrant. It's really natural day to day. She's a nurse, so she wants something a little bit more kind of conservative day to day. But when she goes out in the sun, when she's out at the baseball field, you know, with her kids and stuff, it just shines. It's beautiful. And it's so vibrant. So that's something that we use on her, and it's just really natural. I love that it's on trend for winter and just super vibrant and pretty.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I was just gonna say, I really love that, you know, we don't have to have some crazy, super out of the box formula for our clients to be on trend. So like Amanda was saying, Mel, I think you said her name was,
Melanie,
Melanie, she likes to have that more rich, kind of more conservative look. But even this is just a great way to like talk to your clients who maybe do prefer that more conservative look and explain to them that, hey, you know what, this is still super trendy. We're calling this chicory coffee, and just kind of talk to them about what's trending. They get to leave feeling special and like their hair is super trendy, but they're also going to leave knowing that you as their stylist is paying attention to the trends. And that I think is such a huge part of our job, is helping guide them to be trendy.
Yeah, they come in so many times. They're like, okay, I want to do something different, but what's new? What's in style? And you're like,
Yeah.
right? Like, you know, everything that you've done to them before, right? Like on Melanie, we have a plethora of lists, whether it's spectrum, whether it's, all over straight dark, whether it's, whatever it may be brown. We've done so many things on her. So having the ability to be able to create something on trend for her and something new and different is really important. And just doing a little bit of research on our end, you guys attending classes, you guys, kind of going over your swatch book and looking. And I know a lot of times we just get into the same routine of picking the same colors when we're doing our orders, right? We go, okay, we need our O1s, we need our, whatever it may be. But sometimes it's just picking up that one extra color that changes everything. Like this color would also be really great if she wanted it a little tamer mixed with a 6117, right? It would just cool it down a smidge. It would just kind of smoke it out, take out a little bit of that vibrancy and kind of tone it down a little bit. So what's taking our normal, 635 just kind of changes it a little bit by adding a 6117, right? And it keeps our job behind the chair interesting because not only do they get bored, but we get bored too. So I feel like that just really makes the biggest world of a difference when we are working behind the chair, when we're talking with our clients as well. Someone asked on the chat what the timing was. Really visual. She is washing her hair every day, but she's using Vitaplex shampoo and conditioner to wash it every day. She works out all the time. So her hair is actually in really great condition. So with the 635, I think I just left it on for about 5-10 minutes at the bowl, just a really nice refresh. She doesn't fade out nearly at all. And so it was really just a nice gloss over. So about 5-10 minutes.
So then we have peach caramel. This is actually one of my favorites for the season. It's warm, it looks super yummy. It reminds me of like a caramel apple. So again, these are kind of more of those like typical fall tones that you're seeing. But this doesn't scream redhead to me, which is one of the reasons why I love it. I think this would be really great on somebody with green eyes. I think it would really make their green eyes pop. And again, this doesn't have to be like a whole head application. You could easily kind of panel this in. All over is stunning. So her regrowth is 8.00 and 7.43. And then her mids and ends were pre-lightened to a level 9. And then she was glossed all over with 9.145 with a little bit of the 0.4 intensives, just to kind of help intensify that really lovely copper tone that you're seeing. I think this is just so pretty. It's so on trend. It's literally my favorite color for the season this year. Can you guys think of any clients that you could possibly use this color on? Hopefully you have somebody's name popping into your head. You're going to jot down that formula and try it out on them. If you do, tag us and let us know. So how is everybody feeling so far? Are these formulas seeming easy enough to kind of bring back and try out? Do we have any questions? What are your thoughts?
We had one question. Can you use converter when depositing color at the root and not use 10 volume? Yeah. And do you want to take this question, Kristen?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. You can for sure. Converter is a great way just to deposit color. So if you're going darker, absolutely.
What if they have gray a little bit? Can you still, will converter cover that?
So converter will give you more of a gray blend.
Okay.
It'll cover up to 50%. So if you're really truly looking for a gray coverage, you're going to want to go with your 10 volume, but converter will offer a blend.
Okay, up to 50%. Like if they're 50% or less in gray, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on that one client, Melanie, with the 635 at the ends, I actually use converter on her every time. And even though she's a level 4 and she has some gray, I get the perfect amount of coverage. It's a really soft grow out. And if you want a softer grow out, so I apply her color on dry hair because I'm looking for that maximum coverage on any of that gray or white hair. But if I wanted it softer and I wanted something a little bit more translucent-y, almost like lip glossy, right? I would actually apply her color on damp. And that would give me the absolute most seamless grow out whatsoever. But since I'm looking for a little bit more deposit, a little bit more heavy hitting, I'm going to hit her gray and whites that she has with Converter Dry. Like Kristen said, it's not going to be a full coverage, but it's going to give you, I feel like it gives you enough deposit to where it's a really soft grow out. Like Kristen said, if you're looking for 100% coverage, switch over to 10 volume, but you'd be surprised how much coverage you actually get with Converter. And remember, converters mix 1 part color to 2 parts converter. But if you want to use Converter and you're looking for something a little bit heavier sitting, then you can mix it 1-to-1. You can mix it 1-to-1.5, right? You can kind of change up the mixing ratio with that to get something a little bit heavier.
I was totally just going to say that.
Yeah, we had a comment from Julie. I've been surprised that it does cover almost fully with Converter when under the dryer for 15 minutes, but then it'll gradually fade out for a more translucent stained glass blend. 100%. I love that. I just want to note, just per manufacturer's instructions, Converter isn't intended to be applied under the dryer. If you do apply it under the dryer, it kind of changes it over to more of a permanent look. Again, per manufacturer's instructions, I just want to note that what we do behind the chair is what works for you. Do you guys apply color at the root on dry or damp hair? Is one better than the other? Do you want to take this question, Kristen?
Yeah, so I typically apply on dry hair because, like Amanda kind of already said, I feel like I get better coverage with that. But our color can totally go on towel dried, like barely damp hair. The reason that I like doing that is because I think it helps kind of spread the color a little bit more. But yeah, we have the option to do either or, but I prefer putting it on dry hair.
Yeah, but if you do want to apply it on, it depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about gray coverage with Converter, I always apply it on dry hair. If we're talking about root smudging, and of course I'm doing a like highlight or some sort of lightening work, I'm obviously going to be root smudging on damp hair, but at that point I'm really not looking for gray coverage. Okay. If you're looking for great coverage with 10 volume, you can actually do both. You can actually apply it on damp hair or dry hair. So damp hair, it's, depends on how much they wash their hair, right? Our clients aren't washing their hair every single day anymore. So if they have really dirty hair, if they have a lot of product buildup on their hair, if they have any sort of root sprays, if they have really coarse hair, I'm going to pre-wash them before. All of our color with Infinity can be applied on damp hair. So I can apply any of my colors right on top of hair that has been freshly washed. Okay, so it's no problem. One is not better than the other. It's really just personal preference. And I love that at ASP, we have the ability to play with one versus the other. Julia asked, yeah, so with Converter, we're leaving it on 25 minutes. If you're looking for a full gray coverage, we're going to leave it on that max 25-minute processing time. Yep. If you're just root smudging, if you're toning, you can do anything visually that you need up until the point that you finish, that you feel that you're done processing it.
Caught up.
Yep, all caught up on questions.
Perfect. So this is Dragonfire. This was done using our botanical color. Are any of you using our botanical color, or have you used it before? Because if you haven't, you definitely should. So this formula was done with a combination of paprika, nutmeg, and manuka honey. So after that was processed and shampooed, Hot Shots True Copper was applied to her ends just for a little bit of brightness. And like Amanda was talking about before with the Hot Shots, just going to add such an intense moisture factor to her hair. It's going to be really great for adding in that brightness. But if you wanted to, you could totally pastelize this out and make it a little more of a softer tone. Just really, really versatile with that. So if you aren't familiar with our botanical color, the application for that is, so you are actually going to pre-cleanse the hair using our primer shampoo and then fully dry it. So the botanical color needs to be applied to dry hair. And then you are going to cover it and process for 45 minutes. And then you simply shampoo it. My favorite part of this is just how it makes even like her lip color just seems like it pops more with this Dragonfire on there. Just a really pretty color.
Yeah, so this is Kylie. Kylie is a model for us all the time, you guys. You guys have probably seen her time and time again in classes, at any of our in-person classes. She is someone that the brighter, the better. She is so awesome with any of her coppers, reds. She loves a great shag cut. She's always a model for Nancy with the shag cuts. Like you said, the more copper, the better. She is someone, again, who's a model all the time. And look at the condition of her hair. Her hair is healthy. It's shiny. You cannot see any breakage. You cannot see any damage whatsoever. Nancy plays with botanical colors with her all the time to really create unique, versatile colors. She uses that Manuka honey in there to get some of that brightness, to get some of that intensity, the nutmeg, the paprika. The paprika is so beautiful, you guys. If you have someone that is leaning more towards a botanical color and they're on that coppery end, paprika is, there's no other color like it. It's vibrant, it's bright, it's balanced, it's truly beautiful. And even straight away alone mixed with nothing else, it's the most beautiful color. I love to use it on my clients any chance that I get to use it on them. The nice thing too about botanicals is that you get this thickness to the hair. It gives them, so it's a henna type color without the metallic dyes in it. Okay. So it's really geared towards your clients that are looking for something more natural. Maybe they have an allergy to PPDs. Maybe they have an allergy to hair color. This is something that's really unique to them. They may have had the opportunity to have a more natural color previously, but there was very limited color swatches. With the botanicals at ASP, we have a vast variety of swatches, of colors, whether it's a honey gold color, which is that Manuka honey, whether it's a brunette, right? Whether it's a redhead, whether it's a copper. So a really vast variety of colors, which is really great. Again, the thickness that it provides to the hair is awesome. And again, Kylie's a model all the time. Her hair is healthy. It's in great condition. And the more copper, the better for her. It's awesome. We had one question: is the botanical colors always mixed with water?
Yes. So you are going to use purified water, and it is mixed in a 5-to-1 mix.
Yeah, they come in little sachets. So they come in little sachets, which are powder. Again, they're all naturally derived ingredients from cassia root and from all sorts of natural turmeric and things like that. So it's very of an earthy color. It kind of smells like a matcha. If you guys are familiar with matcha tea, it has a really soft, earthy fragrance to it, which is really nice. You're going to mix it with boiling distilled water, just so there's no other any additives or anything in our water, nice and clean, and then applied to the hair, like Kristen said, once it is clarified. So yes, they're always mixed with water, and it actually will blend gray. So botanicals are a soft color that you can add other colors into it to get a coverage of gray. The thing about the botanicals is that they're going to softly fade out. So this copper that's on Kylie's hair is going to gradually just soften up and lighten up in this same tonal family. So with that being said, the next time she gets that color on, whether it's roots to ends, whether it's roots and then a touch up through her ends, it's going to build on each other. So the more and more that you use botanicals, the longer and longer it's going to last in the hair and the better gray coverage that you're going to constantly get to. So yes, it's going to blend gray. I would say it depends on the coarseness of their hair. I would say it depends on how much gray they have. I've been able to get a coverage on gray and white hair, but it'll definitely give a nice blend to it as well. Any other questions on botanicals? If you guys haven't played with them, I encourage you guys to, even if you guys just use the crystal clear, if you have a client that's wanting fullness, wanting, maybe they have very fine hair, they're looking to get a little bit more style out of their hair, even if you just do the crystal clear on their hair, they're going to get volume from it. So it's a really great treatment to do on them as well.
All right, so Chiseled Stone is up next. For her roots, 4.117 was used with 5.01. Again, that's going to give us that really cool toned gray shade. We have that more shadowed effect where it's a little bit darker at her root area. And then this is melting into more of a lighter stone toned gray on her ends. So to create that, we used 8.7 and 8.2, which was applied to the areas where she was having a little more brass present. That's just going to give us that ultimate control and really tone that down and cool it off. And then where she had her lighter pieces, metallic light violet, T22 and 0.7 was used. So this is a really great way, like utilizing pre-mixed shades and adding in those intensives is really going to give us that ultimate control over how much tone we're getting. I think it's so important to utilize the versatility that ASP has to offer. This way you can get exactly what you're looking for. So I love that we have mixed a metallic with a toner and an intensive. That's something that maybe we wouldn't all think to do. But it's really giving us exactly what we're looking for. And the addition of that intensive is really giving us the ultimate control. This one I love just because it's so cool toned, but it doesn't look shockingly gray. It's still a really pretty, almost kind of violet toned blonde. So and again, adding in that gothic at her root just gives us that really nice shadowed effect. Definitely something that my brain leans towards, especially when we're going into fall.
Well, and I want you guys to remember too, that T22, when you guys are looking at it on your swatch chart, it actually leans towards being warm, which is not something that we would traditionally think of with a violet, right? That 0.2 is a violet. So we would traditionally think that that is so cool to cancel out any bit of warmth that's in the hair, any bit of yellow that's in the hair. But that T22 actually leans a little bit of warmth. So in this formula, it's actually giving a little bit of that warm tone to reflect off and kind of give some of those cooler tones at MLV and that 0.7 something to lay on. So that's where you kind of get a little bit of that brightness in a little bit of that warmth to play back at you. So like Kristen said, I love using all of these together. And the reason that we can use all of them together is because they're all mixed with converter. Okay. So for those of you that haven't seen the changeover yet, our metallic toners are now mixed with converter. So we don't necessarily have to use them with the metallic activator anymore. Those are now mixed with those black bottles of converter. So because we're mixing toners with converter, we can mix intensives with converter, and now we can use the metallic toners with converter. All those can be utilized together to create really customized colors and toners for your client's hair. Again, I love using those metallic toners for low lights too. We talked earlier about adding in low lights. I think Julia was the one saying a 0.00. I love mixing a 0.00 with one of the metallic toners. It's just a really beautiful way to create a low light. But again, that's why we're able to mix all those together and create a formula with those.
All right, so this is spicy mustard. So on her roots, it was pre-lightened with System Blonde 9 and anti-yellow additive. Then she had a full color melt. So at her roots is metallic pearl, T2 and 0.2. And then I think there was a little bit of the MCR in there also, which is metallic copper rose. That is melted into 10.00, 0.3, and 0.000 on her ends. And then that was melted further. Hang on, I lost my train of thought there. Her roots were pre-lightened. Then for her melt at her root area is metallic pearl, T2 and 0.2, melted into her mids, which is just metallic pearl. And then on her ends is 10.00 and 0.3. So that is going to build in a little more of that warmth and a little more of that gold tone on her ends for us. Because after that was washed out, Mango Smoothie was pasteurized and applied to her ends in a ribbon type technique, just to bring more of that spicy mustard color into her ends. So this is one of those colors that you definitely have to have a specific client in mind to pull out the spicy mustard swatch. But I love that we are using our intensives to build in that pigment and build in that warmth when we know that we're going to be coming in with color dynamics. It really just kind of helps layer on that color. So we're going to get a little more longevity out of our color dynamics.
Yeah, and I love that we are, for those of you guys that have been in our classes previously, we're creating a lot of these fashion tones now with intensives and our natural and converters. So I love that we are incorporating some of these tones without just necessarily reaching for a product like Color Dynamics or Hot Shots, where it's already pre-made for us. Again, it gets us excited to work behind the chair, and it gets us to really customize, this spicy mustard. I wouldn't necessarily be able to get it on key with using maybe Color Dynamics straight away. Like I need a little bit something else added into that to create those custom tones. So I love using those intensives to really create those customized tones to give that long lasting effect too. Remember, this is permanent color. So we're giving these effects with permanent color and not just a demi-permanent line. And if you're adding something in like Vitaplex, you're getting even more longevity to their hair, which is so great. Again, this is a model all the time as well. And you can see she has strong, healthy hair from roots to ends. Okay. I love her root color. I love adding in that 10.2, the 10.2, the T2 and the 0.2. It's just that Elsa perfect icy blonde color faded out into this yellow. So it's super beautiful. I love it. I just had a question. We do not have a 25 volume. So what that is just a 10 and a 20, a 20 and a 30 mixed together in equal parts. Sorry, it's Monday morning still. In equal parts to achieve that. Again, we don't have the meter that's going to be exactly a 25 volume, but that's going to give you an estimated 25 volume with the 20 and 30 mixed in. Just so you guys know too, that AYA, for those of you that don't know, is anti-yellow additive. So anti-yellow additive is the creamy violet tube of color, which is going to be mixed into any of our lighteners. So that's going to neutralize out any of those yellow tones at your lighter levels that you get in like the level 8, 9, and 10. So that's mixed in directly into your lightener to neutralize any of those yellowy tones when lifting. There's not a lightener bowl that anti-yellow additive of mine does not go into. It is definitely one of my most used products behind the chair, especially being in California. We're doing lots of blondes. So anti-yellow additive is AYA for those of you that need that little acronym.
All right, so this is Arctic Wolf. This is another one of my favorites for this season. I just think the name is fun, and it's just a beautiful variation on an already cooler toned blonde. We're still seeing a lot of that in the Midwest where I am. So this model here was pre-lightened using System Blonde 9 and 10 volume. And then she was given a low light with the T135, which is our mushroom toner, and then toned all over with the T21S. So like we were just kind of talking about a little bit before, using a toner as a low light is, again, something that's maybe a little bit out of the box, or maybe something that your brain doesn't immediately think to use in that way. Using it as a low light is a really amazing way to just kind of play with a new product, inspire yourself. And you can see it gives like the mushroom blonde gives a stunning low light on this almost platinum. So it just kind of brings her down a notch, really kind of autumnizes, winterizes her blonde. It's a really beautiful, well-rounded color. I just think it looks really great.
Sorry, I was muted. Look at her low light with the T135, it's mixed 1-to-1. So we talked about earlier how we can really change that mixing ratio when we're talking about mixing with converter. So that 1-to-1 is going to give a heavier impact, a little denser of a color, whereas mixing it 1-to-1.5 or 1-to-2 is going to soften it up and give a softer, maybe a little bit more, I don't want to say translucent, but a softer effect to the hair. So again, mixing it 1-to-1 is going to give you the highest impact, which is great, especially if their hair is very porous and you're looking for that intensity of that low light in there as well. Like Kristen said, that 135 is so beautiful. And typically we think of just using a mushroom on, or I guess I think of using a mushroom on like a brunette, but I love it here placed on a blonde. We have that 3 in there, which is gold, that 5 in there, which is red. But we have that 1 in there, which is our primary tone, which is going to give an overall coolness to it. So I don't want you guys to be afraid seeing that 3 and that 5 in there, that it's going to be overly warm. It's a mushroom tone, so it's going to have that overall coolness to it, which that 0.1 in there provides. So do you guys use the 135 a lot on your guys' clients behind the chair?
I tend to use it more as like a root smudge.
Oh, root smudge.
Overall toner, yep. But I love the low light idea, but yeah.
Ooh, I love that. I have not used it as a root smudge. I will have to try that.
I love it.
Awesome.
All right, so this is Nosegay and Autumn Blonde together. So this is the same model that I just showed you for Spicy Mustard. So this is exactly kind of what we were talking about, where using that semi-permanent color is going to give her exactly what she's looking for, but it's also setting us up for success with our next appointment, especially if you know you have somebody that likes to change things up a lot. So this is Nora. Nora is another one of the girls that we use for models all the time. She was in the CCC. Her hair is still super, super healthy. Still super shiny. So for this color, her roots were colored with 7.76, T22, and 12OS. And then on her mids and ends, we have MLV and T22. So her root area is going to be more of that nosegay, kind of that lighter pink. And then through her ends, we have that autumn blonde. So like Amanda was saying before with the T22, it's kind of a little bit on the warmer side, even though it's violet based. And because she was previously the spicy mustard, we already have those gold tones in her ends that have kind of faded out. And now they are lending itself to being the perfect autumn blonde. It's such a soft and creamy color. Again, this is totally something that you wouldn't necessarily have to pair with another color, but you could totally transition your platinum client into more of that autumn blonde.
Yeah, and I just want to comment too. Do you guys ever use the 12OS in any of your formulas, or do you guys know why we use it in any of our formulas? You can either comment in the chat or you can unmute yourself. So the question was, do you guys ever use 12OS in any of your formulas? Yeah, my hair. Okay, I got some commentary. Yes, so much. So do you guys know why we're using that 120S? That 120S is oh, okay. There was a long question. I got distracted. Sorry. So that 120S is mixed into any of our formulas to lighten our colors. So in this formula, we don't have anything lighter than a 776. Okay. So mixing in that 120S, we're going to be mixing it in at 1/4 of our formula, which is going to give us one additional level of lift. So instead of this being a 7.76, it's actually going to make it a 8.76. Okay. So it's all the 120S is in your swatch book. It looks like a clear swatch. Okay. Everyone goes, oh, great. You have clear. Yeah, not really though. So that 120S is going to be no pigment to it. So basically all it is, it's left with ammonia. So that ammonia is going to be that lifting agent to get you that one level lighter. So I use 120S all the time in a toner where I really just want like a gloss over. Maybe like a 9026. I love using it with a 9026 to get really that peachy kind of strawberry color. 9026 sometimes on blonde hair is going to be, the blonde hair is going to be too porous. It's going to soak it right up. So I really just want a glaze. So I'm mixing maybe a 9026 with 1/4 of 120S. That's going to make it a 10.026. Okay. So it's just going to give you one level lighter. Maybe you don't have a level 6, but you only have a level 5. Great, no problem. All you're going to do is mix in 1/4 of that 120S. It's going to take you that one additional level lighter without jeopardizing anything of your tonal rate. It's going to not jeopardize anything of your overall like gray coverage, anything like that. It's just going to make it one shade lighter. I have a commentary from Heather, one of our other educators. She says she uses it all the time for base breaks, like a 10.0, 10.21, and a 120S. It gives it a nice sheer coverage, but also bumps the base. So you get that tonal control of that 10.0 and that 10.21. So you don't get that brass when you're lifting, but it's going to base break that client a little bit. So someone that's an all over highlight, anything like that. So that's when we're really going in and using those 120S's. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Question on it. I've used it when using 10 volume and higher. I've never used it with converter. Yeah, it's no problem to use it with converter. 120S can be mixed with anything within that swatch book. Converter 10, 20, 30, or 40 volume as well. Also that 120S, if you're using it with high lifts, is going to give you that one additional level of lift as well. So if you're using a high lift and you're worried that, you know, maybe the hair's coarse, maybe you're really working through a lot of color, tight texture. If you mix in that 120S, again, only at 1/4 of your formula, you'll get one additional level of lift too. So it's just going to be a nice booster for you. The 120S shifts the underlying pigment with lifting. Nope. So again, that 120S is not going to have any sort of control over your underlying tonal value. All it's going to do is take that color and make it one level lighter, or in your high lifts, give it an extra boosting power to it. So it's not going to mess with anything of your tonal value because it has no tonal value to it. Now, if you're using over 1/4 of it in your formula, that's when it starts eating into your formula, and that's when you'll start compromising your overall tonal value. So we just want to use up to 1/4 of it. That's the only stipulation when using it. But other than that, it's so great. It's so versatile. I like to have a couple of them on hand just because you can really play with them. You can mix them with anything. You get a lot of versatility out of them.
The 120S, can you use, you don't have to use the full 1/4. You can kind of adjust that only up to 1/4, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. And then also,
you need your full, if you need a full level lighter though, then yeah, you'd use
yes, okay.
1/4 of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Even if you're using, I don't know, if you're, oh, okay, I got you. Because you would be using.
You're overthinking it.
Yeah. And then, so when you said, or was, I don't know if it was Heather that uses that as a base breaker,
Yeah.
the 10, 10.21, and the 12S.
Yep.
If you like just highlighted everybody and wanted to put that on at the root at the end after you've rinsed, is it kind of just break up those lines, kind of make it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not gonna have any tonal value. So it's just gonna lift through what's naturally in their hair. But yeah, if you're working through someone that has, like Heather said here, she uses it instead of a bleach bath, right? She's instead of using it as a lightener in a bleach bath, she'll use the 12OS. It's just a very gentle way. We know Infinity Colors, very shiny, very conditioning, very moisturizing. It's just very gentle. So you're not gonna have the same effect as a lightener, but it's just ammonia at that point. There's no tonal value to it. So yes, you can use it straight away mixed with, converter 10 volume for a base break on someone with all over root colors, or you could use it on breaking through color. You could highlight with it if you wanted to. If you had someone like me that kind of just wanted maybe some of these ends popped up a little bit more, you could go through and kind of just put them through there and let them kind of lift up naturally. Again, you're not going to get any tonal control, but if you know that going into it, you're using it appropriately. Make sense?
Yes, thanks.
Perfect, you got it. Would you use 10 volume when doing that? Yeah, I would use 10 volume, or even if the client has really fine hair, I would even use converter with it as well. Heather said 20 or 30. 30 would give you the most lift. Exactly. Yeah. So if you're highlighting with it, 30 volume would give you that most lift with it. Perfect. Are you guys excited to use the 12OS? Do you guys have any in stock? Do you guys need to order it? I feel like it's something that we're kind of just like, oh, I didn't know it really existed. Perfect. Awesome. If there's any other questions on 12OS, either write it in the chat or we can talk about it after class too.
So it wouldn't be a trends class if we weren't talking about the shining star of 2022, which is our Very Perry color. This has been a variation of a more traditional periwinkle color. So I love that we're seeing different versions. Some are lighter, some are darker. I'm definitely seeing more that are on the purple side, but I have seen some that are a little more on the bluish side. I love that we can change up the color slightly and still have it be on trend. So I like that it's very Perry, but there's a broad variation of colors that we are considering to be very Perry. The best part about that is that you can literally utilize it on any client then. So if you have somebody with brunette hair who is liking more of the darker, more purpley toned color, that might pair well with them. But then again, if you have somebody who is blonder, they might like the more pastelized, lighter version of the Very Perry. So I love that we can kind of play with the depth of tonality in this color and still be on trend. So this is Nora again. So this is now the third time that we're seeing her in this presentation. But this is our take on Very Perry. We played with a few of the different tone variations to really truly bring this to life. This Very Perry was our model at the CCC event that we did back in May. So if you were there and you got to see her in real life, you know just how beautiful it was. So she had a global application of 0.6, 0.7, 12OS, and 10.21. And then we went back through and added in more dimension using 10.117 and 7.76, as well as a pastelized version of her global formula. So again, we're really just playing with those variations. We're using that 12OS to kind of shift our tone a little bit. We're working with our intensives to really completely bespoke the color and get exactly what we wanted out of it. So this is our Very Perry.
Yeah, and I love that when you were saying too, everyone's version of it is different. And it was funny when we were swatching this out, a lot of us educators were like, okay, what would you use to achieve this very Perry look, we all gave different formulas. Okay. So everyone's going to see any of these Pantone colors as a whole collection. We're all going to see different tones to them. We're all going to pick up different things and underlying background kind of notes to them and colors. So it's very interesting how that varies. Again, Nora is such a beautiful model. I love this Very Perry on her. It's so, so beautiful. Again, where you guys can see that 12OS, we're utilizing that in a lot of our formulas to create those custom lighter, brighter tones within the hair. The 10117 in there to smoke it out. And again, finishing off with that 12OS and the 1021. 0.6 and 0.7 in there at the ends too. Super beautiful. Again, you can see her hair shiny, healthy, and in the best condition roots to ends.
All right, so if you aren't familiar with our intensives or you weren't familiar with our intensives, you definitely are going to be after today. So this is what's really bringing our color formulas to life and what is making them so customized. So there are 7 pure unoxidized tones that we are playing with. We're going to use these to soften, enhance, or subdue unwanted tones in the hair. I like to kind of think of these almost as my paint. So I can mix these together. I can completely create anything that my brain can imagine. The benefit of these is that, again, we're able to create those custom tones. But, you know, so for our Very Perry model, you know, we use these to create that base of red and blue mixed together. But we get to control what we're adding. So similar to that, like, you know, if you have a color that one of our premix tubes that you are in love with, but you wish it had just a little more pop of a copper, you can add your copper right into that. If you, I know, on the same note, if you love one of the colors and you wish it had a little less of that copper reflect, you can add in some 0.7 and kind of mellow that out a little bit. The difference between adding in a 0.7 versus an 8.7 to your formula is that if you're using the 8.7, you're going to also be adding in base. With the intensives, you're just adding in that tone. So this is a way to just totally tweak the tone without changing the base color. And that's what I love so much about these. Amanda, do you have any specific ways that you like to use these?
You know, some of my most used intensives are going to be the 0.7, which is, I feel like, overall probably the most underused intensives, but I'm doing a lot of caramel colors. I'm doing a lot of working through darker tones to create some of those lighter caramel hues. So I'm working through orange, right? So I'm using that 0.7 to really neutralize out a lot of my colors. Also blondes, I'm doing a lot of double process blondes too, where I love adding in some of that 0.7. Now we actually have the 0.7 series, like the 8.7. So I'm utilizing more of those now, but the 0.7s I love mixing in. 8.0 and a 0.7 is just the most beautiful beigey root color on someone that's all over gray. I have that control from that 8.0, but I have that coolness from the 0.7 and I love what it provides. That's definitely going to be some of my most used. I also use 0.3 a lot. Again, I'm in California, we're doing lots of blondes, but what I find, and I feel like everyone across the pond finds too, we have clients that are using purple shampoo every day. We're working on clients that we're just trying to get cool in. And we talked about this a little bit earlier. We need some of that gold in there. I need some of that gold in there to really reflect back. People are styling more than ever. They're using hot tools more than ever, and their hair is very porous. If I'm just going in and putting on something that's very, very cool on them every single time, I'm not going to have that brightness that I'm looking for and that I'm trying to achieve. And so I add in a lot of 0.3 into my blonde toners to really get that reflection back at me. So those are probably my 2 most used intensives. Heather's on the chat. She loves using the 0.2 intensives into her level 6s. those clients that don't love seeing red in the hair, but they're seeing the gold that reflects, right? So those level 6s, they're saying, oh, I see red, I see red, I see red. And it's not really the red, it's really the gold that reflects out. So she's mixing in that 0.2, which is going to give a flatter level 6, which I absolutely love as well, because we all have those clients that say, I see red, I see red. So again, she uses those 0.2s in there on her level 6s to just neutralize that out, give them a muter, flatter level 6. Anyone else? Does anyone else have any way that they love using the intensives? I think what we're doing now too, we're doing a lot of our fashion shades with the intensives. And so again, I talked about this earlier, we're getting those fashion shades in there with a more permanent look. So you're getting those longer lasting tones, which is so awesome. You have the ability to create even more customized tones in the hair. Yep, the 622 for clients that are complaining, Julia was saying that for clients that are complaining about red, she makes in the 6.22 and loves the reflection. Yep, exactly. Yep, and Heather said that's their function. They're not really to provide a plum look on the hair. If you're looking for more of a plum look, you're going to go more into your 7/6s. Right? Like Nancy had used earlier on Nora, those 7/6s, 776, 576, 3352, any of those shades, that 622, just like we talked about earlier, that 10-2, that 8-2, that 6-2, those are really intended to neutralize out. So that 622 is meant to be used in that same way. It's not meant to be used to give a fashion violet. It's meant to be used to neutralize anything at that level. Awesome.
All right, so how many of you guys are swatching, playing with colors, seeing what you can create? Do any of you do that in your spare time? I mean, I know we do it all day long behind the chair, but I really challenged myself this season with the fall palette just to see how close I could really come to creating what Pantone was putting out for this season. So these next few slides have some of the formulas that I created to mimic these tones. I love that we can use swatches to showcase the different options available. And I actually use Heather's trick where I will put these on a swatch ring and leave them on my station so that it kind of takes the initial bringing it up to my client out of the mix. I lay them on my station. My clients come in, they always want to touch stuff. They see it, they ask about it. So I really like kind of introducing colors for that purpose. So with these, I plan to do this again at the next spring, summer. So I'll do this seasonally so that my clients can see. And I just pick, a dozen colors from the palette and see what I can create. So here we have Water Spout. So this is 12 OS and 8.7 mixed together. So when we were talking about the 0.7s before and how you really want to add in some of that control, this is why. So this is 8.7 with that 12 OS, which is really going to make this more of a 9.7 or even 10.7. And you can see it's pretty spot on to what the swatch for Water Spout is. So if you're using the 0.7s as a root smudge or as a low light, you're definitely going to want to add in some of that 0.0 or the 0.00 just to give you a little more control over that 7 pigment.
I can really see this on an Oliver Blonde, like a platinum client relayed in maybe in like how we kind of panel it in like pie shaped toning. I think that would be really fun with this, or even an Oliver Brunette that has pre-latent pieces and kind of wants a fun like gloss. Maybe they're going on a winter trip or something like that. I think this would be really pretty laid into a brunette too, or maybe next to like maybe like next to that pastel pink that we talked about earlier. That's on trend too. That would be really pretty.
Yep. So this is Autumn Blonde. And I created that using 9.24 and 9.117. So just a really nice balance of all the tones, but still slightly on the cooler side. The 117 is going to give you more of that little shadowed effect. So that's really what's cooling this off for us. And then I did chiseled stone, which is going to be 9.0 with just a little bit of that 0.7. This is where I am going to get that control from. This is really neutralizing out any of the warmth that was in the swatch, and really creating that nice stone color. One of the things I want to point out is both the autumn blonde and the chiseled stone were used on our models for today's class. But you can see with these swatches that we have two totally different formulas than what was used on the models. So like Amanda said with the Very Perry, there's 18 billion different ways to come to the same final result. It's just a matter of what your brain is seeing or what your eye is catching as the reflect, or really where you kind of want to go with that swatch. So then we have Caramel Cafe, which is equal parts 7.4 and 7.0. This is a really, really pretty color. I think this one was used earlier in the presentation as well. But this is one of my favorites for kind of brightening up a brunette. It's a really nice caramel formula.
This autumn blonde is probably one of my favorites. Again, a super cool overall color, but you guys can kind of see that there's some underlying warmth in there, and that 924 provides that 4 in there, that copper provides the perfect amount of underlying warmth. You can also see that it's like smoky, so that 9117 gives you that smokiness. I honestly think that I could use this on just about any client, right? And changing up the mixing ratio. If I wanted it a little bit warmer, I do a little bit of more of 924. If I wanted it a little bit cooler, a little bit more backed out, then I would do, you know, maybe 3/4 of the 9117. So again, I think this is something I could use on anyone. That Caramel Cafe, I think I could just about use that on anyone too, whether it's a root smudge on a really pretty blonde that's wanting to go a little bit more rich and warm for the winter, or you know, kind of that bronzy look that once maybe they're all already lightened and just using that as a gloss over. So I love these shades, and I love that we can kind of transition them and use them in so many different ways.
Yeah, I love that the fall palette has so many different neutral tones in it this year. It's so easy to incorporate it into almost any client's hair, just because everything is beautiful. We don't have a ton of those like party colors or anything like that where you have to have a very specific client for it. A lot of these colors are super wearable. So then we have Samoan Sun, which is going to be 9.3 with a little added 0.3 intensives, just to kind of kick up that gold, really bring out that warmth. Then we have Orange Tiger, which is B Red Copper and 10.0 mixed together. We're going to get that really punchy copper from the B Reds there. And then the 10.0 is just going to kind of mute it out a little bit and kind of pastelize it for us. Then we have Lava Falls, which is 7.4 and 0.6 intensives. That 7.4 is going to be a really lovely copper. And then by adding in that 0.6, I'm really just kind of upping the red content on it. Polar Night, I used 1.7 with the 12OS. The 1.7 has that really lovely blue color in there. It's one of our it's like so black it's blue, or so blue it's black colors. But by adding in that 12OS, I'm lightening up that base a little bit and really making it true to the swatch. And then we have Nosegay, which is T22 and B Red Magenta. Arctic Wolf, I did 10.0 and 10.2. Again, that 0.2 is going to be a really strong violet pigment. So by adding in the 10.0, I'm kind of tempering that, but it's still a really nice, cool toned blonde. Then we have Rose Violet. So for this one, I did 10.117, 12OS, Metallic Copper Rose, and B Red Red Violet all mixed together. That 117 is just going to give me that really nice smoky color. The 12OS is lending itself to make everything a little bit lighter for us. The Copper Rose is just going to add in those tones for me, as well as the Be Red, Red Violet, which is what we're seeing most of in this swatch. And then I did Midnight, which again is that 12OS. I used 0.7 to give us more of that blue color and a little bit of 1.7 for that depth. So it's really nice that you can use the intensives just to kind of totally customize everything. So yeah.
I can totally see this rose violet, the midnight, and the water spout all together. I think that would be so beautiful.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, so we had a question come in. These are all done with Infinity Color. Okay, so Infinity Color, whether it's any of the 1 through 10 Infinity shades or the toners, some of them have the metallic toners in them, and some of them have the Be Reds added into them too a little bit. So everything is done within that Infinity range, anything within the swatch book that we have.
Yeah, I love that we can mix everything in the swatch book together. I think that's just another way that we can completely customize and use pre-mixed shades to further customize what we're going for. All right, so we have a new community connection that Amanda is heading up. Amanda, do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we have a new Facebook page, you guys. So this Facebook page is actually a group page. So it's ASB Hair America Hints and Tips. I know the UK has a page right now too. We just wanted to create that community within within North America. So it's not only the US, but also Canada into that as well. I am posting about classes going on in there. I'm posting about, I'm doing a feature Friday. So if any of you guys have your clients, if you guys post on social media, post on Instagram and tag ASP Hair America, I am doing a feature Friday to showcase to everyone that's in that group. And I'm also talking about products, talking about featured products for that week, for that day, introducing our educators so you guys can know who all of us are. Also, it's a really open forum, you guys. You guys are able to ask questions. You guys are able to post pictures. You guys are able to really converse with any of our educators that are on that page and just have a nice community. So kind of like taking these classes, but into a Facebook social media setting. So like, I know we had a question earlier that said, no rush, don't need to answer it right this second, but kind of like that. Okay. So you guys have all of our cell phone numbers and we are happy to give them out at any point in time, but maybe you want to talk to someone else or see what someone else is doing behind the chair or at their salon in another state. Post your questions on there. We want to get it, we're just getting it up and going and we want to get that conversation going to you guys as well. This is just a page for professionals. So this is just a hairstylist page. It's not for your clients. It's not for your, mother, sister, whatever it may be. It's just for you guys. So it's a personalized page for you guys. Again, it's headed by us. It's headed by our education team. So you guys have that. So please give it a follow. We'll get you approved and we'll get you going so you guys can see all that's happening on that page.
All right, so we have just a few more classes left for the year. So coming up next is going to be a Cutting Academy class with Nancy on October 24th. And then Miss Heather is going to be doing a holiday and upstyling class in November. So you're going to register for those the same way you registered for today's class with the link in the bio. But then we've also added on a few extra classes that are going to be coming up. So Amanda is actually going to be doing a Vitaplex certification class. This is going to be on Monday, October 10th. So in just a couple of weeks. It will be 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 Central, and 12 Eastern. You're going to learn all of the ins and outs about how we flex. You will learn why Vitaplex is superior. And yeah, Amanda, do you have anything you want to add?
Yep. So this class is just going to be the ins and outs of Vitaplex, how it works, why it works, what you can use it in, what you can't use it in, everything Vitaplex. get the wherewithal about everything, all of the supporting products, the shampoos, conditioners, masks, things like that, part 3. So it's a really great class. It's going to be a quick class, probably no more than an hour, but it gets you certified in using Vitaplex, which is really awesome. You guys will get a certificate, whether you post it on social media, whether you guys print it out and have it at your station. We're really excited to be able to give you guys this class. We had one more of these Vitaplex certified classes, I think last year, or sometime over COVID. So we're really excited